this video, we're going to talk about 4 of my favorite things about Tacoma, Washington, and we're going to get started on that right now. Hey everybody, my name is Darren Rivers. I am the Northwest Realtor, and welcome to Living in Tacoma, Washington. Hey, if you're new to this channel, why don't you hit that subscribe button right there? That way you can get all my videos that teaches people all about Tacoma and the surrounding areas. I also have a Gig Harbor channel too, which is called Living in Gig Harbor, Washington, if you're interested in that. But it's really just to kind of teach about the area and see if it might be a good fit for you or not. So if you like this video, give me a little thumbs up. You can do that, of course, at the end. If you have any comments about it, put it in the comment section, and you can always reach out directly. All of my information is right there. So send me a text, give me a phone call, an email, whatever you like, and I'll make sure I get back to you right away. And we are going to get started right now on my 4 favorite things about Tacoma, Washington. Number 1 on my list. Now this is in no particular order, okay? So it's not like I have a top and a bottom, but one of. So number 1 for today is all the cultural stuff that Tacoma has to offer. It's a pretty diverse city, and it's got a lot of cultural type things, and I'm only gonna go into a couple things here because I don't have the time to get into each and every piece of it, but one of the things that you might wanna check out that's kind of a cool attraction is the Museum of Glass. It's got a lot of like Chihuly art in there and blown glass art, which Chihuly does a lot of, obviously, but it's a really cool museum and it's just got some really cool stuff. I am not an artsy guy. I don't have a creative bone in my body, so I really appreciate going into a museum like this and just looking at what people can come up with. Yeah, I kind of am envious of a skill like that. I don't have it, but man, it's a really cool place to go. It's right downtown. And then of course there's restaurants and everything really close nearby, so you can make a day of it, but it's something you should check out. The Museum of Glass, downtown Tacoma. Another really attractive museum in Tacoma is the LeMay Car Museum. It's right there by the Tacoma Dome, right off of Interstate 5. It's this big building. I almost think it looks like a potato bug kind of a building, but it's really big. You can't miss it, and there are so many cars in there, from classic cars to race cars to sporty cars, everything in between, and they rotate through. So, you know, if you go in a year later, you're going to see a whole different collection of cars in there, and it's several levels high, lots of really cool cars. And so if you're kind of a gearhead or a car junkie, or even if you're not, I'm not really, but it's really fun to go in there and check them all out. And man, there's some really neat pieces in there. So LeMay Car Museum, that's another good spot for you to look. Number 2 on my list of my favorite things about Tacoma, Washington is all the waterfront it has. So along Ruston Way, there is a long paved path off of the road, which is great for jogging. People go rollerblading down there, ride their bikes, they take their dogs, you know, and go for walks on there. It's miles long, all along the water. In the summer, it gets pretty crowded, of course, because it's nice outside, but there's little lawn areas right there that you can lay out in the sun right next to the water, and little fishing piers along the way, some restaurants along the way. It's really cool. And 4th of July, they do the Freedom Day Fair down there, and it's a huge event. I mean, there's like 100,000 people down there, food vendors, beer gardens. It's just packed. They close it to traffic, car traffic, so it's only walking only. And then later that night, they have a barge out in the water that shoots off fireworks and the whole 9 yards. So right there on Ruston Way, down there on the waterfront, is a really cool spot about Tacoma. One of my favorite things is right there on the water. It's really pretty. It's a great setting. The next thing I'm going to mention in this category is right at the end of Ruston Way, you get to the Point Defiance Park. So Point Defiance Park is the 2nd largest city park in the country. Only the Central Park in New York City is bigger. And there's a road called 5 Mile Drive that goes kind of around the circumference of it. And of course, it's 5 Mile Drive because it's 5 miles long. But it's, so you can drive in there on that. There's tons of hiking trails. It's right on the cliffs, and it's out there on the point, so you can see water all the way around. You see lots of wildlife in there, from deer and maybe even some coyotes and things like that. There's also the Point Defiance Zoo right down there. There's botanical gardens. It's a really nice, it's a way to get out of the city that's still in the city, if that makes sense. So really peaceful spot. And they have the Tacoma Narrows 10K that runs through there. So if you're into racing, you can go on a road race, jogging all through there. And but there's a hill on the climb out, so just be wary of that. You're going to be climbing out of it if you're running that race. But it's another cool spot to check out, Point Defiance Park. My third favorite thing about Tacoma, Washington is all the restaurants. There are tons of restaurants, and I can't even begin to get into all of them. There's upscale and less expensive and everything in between, and there are lots, and there's lots of good ones. So I'm not going to get into all of these, but I'll concentrate on some that are right downtown, right off of Pacific Avenue. If you go up on 6th Avenue, there's a lot more restaurants up there too. That's for a different video. I'm going to concentrate downtown right now. So downtown on 6th Avenue is El Gaucho Steakhouse. And steaks are to die for. It's a little upper end. It's a little bit more expensive for sure. They got valet parking for you, and the food is off the charts. It is so good. If you are a steak lover, that is the place to go. The second restaurant I'm going to mention here is the Melting Pot, and it's just a couple doors down from El Gaucho, so it's right there, but it's a fondue place. And it's fun. I've been there with my family before, and it's like an event. You spend a couple hours there, and they got all the things that you dip, all the stuff into, the cheese, and there's the dessert end of things, and it's just kind of a cool event. They bring out course after course, and you kind of cook it there and dip it in all the stuff on your own. My kids loved it when they were little. It's a really cool spot again, and it's right down there on Pacific Avenue, just a couple doors down from El Gaucho. The last restaurant I'm going to mention here is a place called Indochine. It is an Asian themed restaurant. It's just down the street and across the street from these other two that I mentioned. Again, a cool vibe, totally different than El Gaucho and Melting Pot, of course. But the environment's good, the food is great, it's pretty big, it's pretty lively. Again, there are lots of restaurant options in Tacoma. These are just 3 that happen to be really close to each other right downtown, and I'm sure you wouldn't be disappointed in any one of them. The fourth and last thing I'm going to mention about my favorite things about Tacoma, Washington is simply the location of where it's at. First of all, it's on Puget Sound, and it's just beautiful. You can see Mount Rainier off in the distance if you look out to the east. If you look out to the west, you got the Olympic Mountains and the sunsets and all the water all over the place, but it's great. But it's convenient too. We're only about 35 minutes from SeaTac Airport, so if you want to hop on a plane and get out of Dodge, it's pretty easy to get there. We're only about 45 minutes or so from Seattle, so if you want to go up there and catch a Mariner game, catch a Seahawk game, a hockey game with the Kraken, they're in the playoffs right now, by the way. Seattle's not very far away. If you just want to go check out Pike's Place in downtown and go shopping for the day, it's pretty easy to get there. If you're employed at Joint Base Lewis McChord, which is one of the bigger employers in the area, it's just right down I-5 the other direction, 10-15 minutes, and you're right there at the gates to get into Joint Base Lewis McChord. If you happen to work in the government and you need to get down to Olympia, well, that's only about a 35 minute drive down to the south. So Tacoma is just really centrally located, and for recreation, it doesn't take very long to get out of their area. Sorry. You can go up to Crystal Mountain. It's only about an hour and 20 minute drive, maybe even a little less than that, and it's great terrain. If you're a snow skier, it is fantastic. The backcountry skiing there, the inbound skiing, everything. It's a really good mountain to go. Mountain biking, I mean, there's just so much to do. Again, I can get into more and more topics for more and more videos that I don't have time to get into today. But one of the great things about Tacoma is the location and where it sits. That's it, everybody. My name is Darren Rivers. I am the Northwest Realtor. We just watched a video on 4 of my favorite things of Tacoma, Washington. I have lots of favorite things, way more than 4, but those are 4 of them. Again, all my information's right there. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video.